have a mailbag that we have not seen. You have. So I will direct this segment to you.
All right. Let me see which one we want to do first. Okay. We'll start off with a Texas State question.
Sure. Okay. Why not?
Is a quarterback controversy on the horizon for Texas State since TJ Finley is now committed to the Cats? And how should Malik Hornsby feel?
I'll say that I don't think it's a controversy, but I will say that Malik Hornsby probably can't feel too great. From what I've heard, Ty Evans probably will not be playing football. And I think this was a lot of C.J. Rogers maybe not seeing C.J. Rogers as the backup necessarily if something happens to Malik Hornsby. But let's just say they were also in for Casey Thompson, right? So they weren't necessarily saying we're going to get a straight up backup quarterback because if Casey Thompson commits, he's starting over Malik Hornsby. I love Malik Hornsby. Yep. But they're going to get if they got Casey, he's a starter. So if I'm Malik Hornsby, I'm like, yeah, I'm better than TJ Finley, but I'm also looking at it as like, that's a pretty capable backup you brought in, right? Especially for our level. Not saying TJ Finley is a world beater or anything, but he is a former 4-star quarterback. So, yeah, I don't think there's a controversy, but I will say that it may not be the best feeling if you're Malik Hornsby.
I mean, just look at that quarterback room at this time last year and that now.
Oh, my God.
I can't. It's night and day. I mean, good Lord.
This is where you're trying to get if you're G.J. Kinney.
Right.
Yeah.
You want competition in every single room, and you cannot go to the left guard and say that it is a competition if you can't go to the quarterback and say that it's not a competition.
Sure.
And Malik Hornsby is a limited quarterback who we have not seen win at the FBS level. We just haven't. We all watched him in high school, and he's great. I'm a Missouri City guy. Love him.
Yep.
But TJ Finley does some stuff with his arm that Malik Hornsby just can't do. And so I don't think they'll go 2-quarterback system.
Sure.
And I think Malik wins that job. But if they find themselves down 24-7 and they're going to really need to throw the ball, I would not be shocked to see TJ Finley be in that role.
Sure.
I want to echo off what Craven just brought up there a little bit. And I think one of my biggest memory right now from Malik Hornsby at Arkansas was this game against LSU he played. And LSU just ran a quarterback spy with Harold Perkins.
I was about to say, I do remember
the
that.
entire game. And it literally was like the game was over. They could not do anything.
Let me just say this, though. There are none of those.
No, that's what I was going to say. So I think Malik Hornsby is going to be much better at Texas State. And I think he's going to be electric in G.J. Kinney's offense. But there are these times where if there's a guy – this is not high school football anymore. If there's a guy on the other side of the defense who can keep up with Malik Hornsby speed for speed, there is a blueprint out there on how to stop him. Now, you don't have Harold Perkins, but you can try to mimic
He is
it.
one of one.
Yes.
Yeah, that kid is.
No, I agree. I think there is something to be said about he's going to need to maybe win some games with his arm. Yeah. And I think that's why he went to Texas State, right?
Because you saw what Lindsey Scott did.
Yeah, and Nebraska tried to come at him, but he wanted to be a quarterback, and so I think there's a willingness to do that, but it's just a matter of can he? Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's a good observation, right? People saw TJ Finley and was like, what? They're Texas State, really?
Wait, let me say one thing about Lindsey Scott. So Lindsey Scott's the quarterback that G.J. Kinney coached last year. So before G.J. Kinney got there, Lindsey Scott, 2,000 yards, 62% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. With G.J. Kinney, 4,600 yards, 60 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Yeah. So there was a bit of a jump there.
Shout out Mac Leftwich as well.
Yeah, offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich too. So yeah, there you go. There's a blueprint there to see if
he probably just sent those exact stats.
Right. He just emailed him to Malik Hornsby. Like, you want to do this?
We don't even have to talk. Just read this.
What's
All
next,
right.
Mallory?
Let's kind of go off that same topic. And who wins the quarterback battle at UNT?
Oh, Chandler Rogers.
Oh, it better be Chandler Rogers.
No,
I'm going to say it better be Chandler Rogers. I think it will be Chandler Rogers, but it also better be because as much as I think we tried to play this optimistically when we kind of heard that Chandler Rogers was kind of struggling during spring camp. We tried to say, new environment for Jace Ruder. He was a 4-star quarterback at one point. Maybe it's different for. It better be Chandler Rogers by what they brought in. They bet a lot on that kid.
They did.
And
they really did.
But they've seen what these other guys can do for not this staff, but UNT has seen what these other guys can do.
I stopped by North Texas a week before the spring game.
Yeah.
And Eric Morris said that if there was a game tomorrow, Jace Ruder was going to be their quarterback.
Right.
Then the spring game happened.
Yep.
And I think the thing with Chandler is the stuff that he does really well, or at least some of the stuff he does really well, you cannot see at a Tuesday practice because you're not allowing the quarterbacks to do that.
They have red jerseys on.
Yeah, and you want to stay within the system, especially the first year you're putting in the system, right?
Sure.
It's like, here are our checks, here how we do it. Like, you do it this way, right? And then the spring game happened, and it's a little bit looser because it's a quote-unquote game. And Chandler just started playing football.
Right.
Like, he is unquestionably the best quarterback there, and he absolutely should or will be the starter if he's healthy.
I always go back to last summer at 7-on-7. We were watching two different quarterbacks, but two highly touted quarterbacks. Austin Novosad, now at Oregon, and it was DJ Lagway, who's at Willis. He's currently committed to Florida. Austin Novosad, if you would have just looked off those 7-on-7 films, you would have wondered, why the hell is DJ Lagway a 5-star? Yeah. He's like, that looks like a 3-star quarterback. Then you watch him put pads on and play for Willis. And you're like, I get okay, I see. He does everything for this team, right?
Yeah.
You see Austin Novosad, you're like, that's a future NFL guy. And you're like, okay, he's good, right? I think he's going to be a good quarterback. But, yeah, there's some like 20 other things that DJ Lagway does that you can't do in 7-on-7 that he similar to Chandler Rogers, to where this is a guy who was ULM's entire offense, right? I saw way too much of ULM because they're in the Sun Belt and Tech State. And you're just watching him like, I remember him at Lake Ridge. And you're like, why is he like, he's running, he's throwing, he's making things happen. The offensive line stinks. And it was like, okay, there's some things that, you're not going to see in spring because nobody can touch him. So he's not going to, like you mentioned, they're going to keep him really confined. Eric Morris is a very rigid quarterback coach, and he wants to iron out those wrinkles, right? There's some times where there's going to be a wrinkle that happens, and that's where Chandler Rogers, that's where you want to have him come in, be able to make a play with his feet, make a throw on the run, things like that. So I think it will be Chandler Rogers, and I think the spring game showed why it will be. But also for their sake this year, it better be Chandler Rogers, because I don't think that this is going to be a rough year in terms of they're going to start out hot. I really think UNT is going to start out hot. And then that back half of the schedule is going to hit, and it's going to be it's bad, I think. It's not going to be their fault.
They need to get bowl eligible by October 14th.
Yes.
The other thing here is the running game is the strength of North Texas, but their offensive line isn't great at pass blocking. They're basically going to start 4 guards in the center. And so if you can have an athletic quarterback and a really good running game, and now you can go do some stuff. And so I think the offense we see at North Texas in year 1 will not be the offense we see from Eric Morris in year 3.
Yes.
But this is who he has on his roster, and he's going to have to adjust to that. Chandler feels like the quarterback best suited to do that. The same way we talked about Donovan Smith maybe being better suited for Tech last year when their offensive line wasn't doing so well.
Sure.
All right, let's go with Baylor opens with G.J. Kinney's completed retooled Texas State. Do you think that could be cause for concern for the Bears?
That first half would be weird.
Yeah, it's going to be weird because, like,
it's going to get super weird.
The hell do you scout? What the hell do you do? Like, do you? I mean, like you mentioned, like the only time we've seen Malik Hornsby was like the one time in his life he played a guy who's as fast as he is on the other side. Obviously, if you try to watch film on UIW, okay, but Malik Hornsby's not Lindsey Scott. So it's like, what do you kind of watch? I don't know. This whole Tech State team's different.
And we talk about what Colorado's doing a lot.
Yeah, sure.
And Tech State's doing it for different reasons. Like G.J. Kinney didn't walk into a meeting room and go, "You suck, get out of here." Right. But he's signed, I think, 47 new faces.
I was about to say, it is a
right
ton.
now. So, like,
it's complete roster turnover.
It's going to be weird for Texas State as well. Like, I think, it's going to be interesting for Baylor to try to prepare for a team like that. But in theory, it should take Texas State a few weeks to even figure out who the heck they are.
Sure.
Yeah.
I could see like this game being Texas State is leading 17-7 in the first half, and we're like, okay, now like let's watch out for Texas State. What's going on with Baylor?
34-17.
Yes, exactly. And then Baylor goes into halftime, and we're like, okay, hey, we're way better than these guys.
Not that much different than what happened last year.
I was going to say we were at that game
last year. Mallory had one of her favorite sayings where Texas State of course says "eat 'em up," and Mallory was like, well, they kind of chewed him up a little bit in the first half. Which was fair because I was very excited at that first half. The game was great in the first half. And
it was. Hey, speaking of atmospheres, that was a pretty cool atmosphere, right?
Baylor
was no beer, but
Ish
fine.
texted me throughout the first half and not at all in the second half. I don't know why.
Yeah, Ish was like all in.
He's the best receiver in the state.
He's like, he was on his feet. He was on his feet the whole time too, and then the second half, and he just silent, not a peep from him. It was hilarious. To make it worse, we were cheering for Baylor, so
I was about to tell you, y'all were we were surrounded by our bosses at the McLean, so I was surrounded by Baylor people. So
you were the only one.
Yeah. Then the 2 deep got into play, and it was like, oh, right, so we only have like 40 good players. They have like 80. Anyway,
that's great. All right, let's finish it up here. Who's gonna win the American with all the new additions this year?
I'll tell you who the money's on.
My opinion of this has changed.
It literally
Mine too.
has.
I think I've answered this question at least 3 times, and every single time I think I've said 3 different teams. And I'm like,
welcome to May.
A little
literally
a little peek behind the magazine. The answer that is in the magazine, that will be in the magazine, was not the answer that we went into this this offseason.
I changed it yesterday.
Yeah.
I walked into the office yesterday and go, Tepper, can I change a few things?
I did hear you say that, yeah.
I think it's going to be SMU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
From a sheer talent standpoint, SMU is unquestionably the best team in the AAC. Then you look at the schedule and go,
oh,
okay.
That's a cakewalk.
Well, the other 2 teams I would have in that conversation aren't even on their schedule.
Tulane and UTSA, right?
UTSA, yeah. And so for me, I don't see a way that SMU doesn't at least get into the title game. And then they just got to win one. Preston Stone, excellent quarterback, I think. If he stays healthy,
I'm excited.
I think he's going
to. That quarter and a half was crazy last year.
I think he's going to be better than Tanner Mordecai.
Yeah.
They lose Rasheed Rice, but I don't know if y'all just heard they added Jordan Hudson to a room that includes Jordan Curley, Jake Bailey, if you remember that name, Moochie Dixon, and then, just a couple transfers from the University of Miami. No big deal. Offensive line, signed 3 or 4 new guys that are going to start up front there. And then the whole defense is different. Especially the whole back half of the defense.
Basically, if you just took Liberty and Miami Castaway and just mashed them together and it was like, here's the defense.
And then like Jonathan McGill.
Yep.
And so like they are going to be better top to bottom than every other team in the American. The caveat, and the reason that I lean towards UTSA some, all those guys have played together. All those guys got brought there for a reason, and all those guys love being at UTSA. This is not a hired gun situation in San Antonio. It is at SMU. It just is. Right? 65 of those new faces have been signed over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And so when the adversity strikes and the game, Mallory's seen UTSA come back multiple times, right? Like you just like.
God, that UTEP game.
When it's 27-27 in the fourth quarter, when SMU and UTSA are playing for a conference championship, do you bet on the guys that are kind of new to each other and figuring it out and never won much together at all? Or do you bet on the team that has the back-to-back conference championships and a quarterback who seems to lead a comeback anytime that he can?
And Jeff Traylor.
So I think that's going to be we'll see it at Colorado as well. But in this state, SMU and Texas State are fascinating case studies on how this roster turnover in the modern college world works. And if it works right, SMU should run away with the AAC and probably play in a New York Six Bowl, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think the only other team that I would worry about if I was UTSA, yes, in the state, Tulane in that conversation.
Yeah, they're bringing back that quarterback, too.
They're bringing
really
back Michael
good.
Pratt.
They beat USC
the problem with Tulane is Tyjae Spears was a huge part of that offense.
Yes.
Right? And so finding a replacement for him is going to be massive. If they can, then okay. Then I think I like SMU as a 1A to their 1B maybe. UTSA is like a very close second to that top group. So I would agree right now if I had to, put something down on a piece of paper, I'd go SMU and then I go 1B Tulane. But yeah, it is the top of the AAC is going to be crazy, and I lean SMU because of, like you mentioned, that schedule is just like a favor from the gods. I don't know what happened there, but I don't think Tulane has that much less hard of a skill. I mean,
they end. I was going to say they end with UTSA.
Yeah,
so
UTSA. Yeah, it's actually not.
Which could be a decider of who plays SMU in the.
Yeah,
Good
definitely.
Point. Yeah, so that's what I would go. I'll go SMU, but Tulane's right there for me.
Because I go around all these campuses and colleges, right, and I get to watch at least a practice. Texas and Texas A&M are on their own stratosphere in terms of like, holy crap, they're big.
Yeah,
they look different than all the other schools. And then there's the rest of the P5 schools, and there's a pretty big drop off to G5. And SMU lives in this weird space right below TCU and Tech. Just right there. Because Baylor's got some monsters because of the way Aranda recruits offensive and defensive line.
Right.
Like they're right there below Tech in terms of like, man, they look like that's a Power 5 team, right?
Yeah.
And they should be. They got like a $32,000 a player budget and all that kind of stuff.
It's crazy there.
And so like they just look different than UTSA and North Texas and Rice. And I didn't go see Tulane. I didn't, but they look different than those other favorites within the state, just in terms of just sheer size. Like that is a football team full of some dudes.
What about you, Carter?
I hear what you're saying about SMU, and I really think it is going to be super exciting to watch them this year with all the transfers they brought in. They definitely are the most talented team, but I just got to go with UTSA in this one because, like Craven, like you're talking about, these guys are so experienced on this team. They have built like this current UTSA team is the one who's built it. You know, like
That's a good
they
point.
have been playing together for multiple years now. This is not a direct quote, but I watched a press conference that Traylor had, and he's basically like, you know, all these guys are hardly even playing in the spring. They're coaching basically the younger guys because I mean Frank Harris has been there for 10 years now. Stuff like so
Dr. Frank.
so they
10 years.
it's almost the part where now their locker room is like player led almost. And that's like when you get a well-oiled machine going. And I think SMU is just gonna have some bumps with chemistry and like gonna drop a few games because they just don't all know each other as well.
You know what just dawned on me?
What's up?
Frank Harris is older than Carter.
I think he's older than me too.
What year did you graduate high school?
2017.
Same with Frank.
We're the same age. Wow. He's 24.
He's 24.
Man, that is nuts.
That's crazy.
That's how long he's been around.
Frank, man.
I'm also 22. I said I was 23. My birthday's coming up.
You're not old enough to do that yet.
It's coming up.
You're not old enough to say, like, oh, I'm a year off. No, stop.
Yeah.
Hey, I've started doing that
like
too, though, to be fair.
I'm 22.
You're not old enough to do that either. 28, 29 is when you can kind of forget it. Then you remember, oh, I'm 30 now. Then it's like, see, as somebody who's 31.
And then you really quit caring.
Yeah, exactly. No, I said, I introduced myself like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm 30. And I was like, oh, no, I'm 31. Like, I was like, that's one of those moments. So, no, neither of you were old enough to start doing that. So.
Y'all ever heard the George Carlin joke about birthdays?
No.
You know how like, you celebrate 1 through 12 and then 13 obviously because you become a teenager. Then it's like 18, 21, and then 30, 40,
25.
50,
I feel like is a big
because
one.
like nothing else happens.
Right, you just learn
so like
the decades.
I'm just in my 30s.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you're not like
when I hit 40, I'll be like, oh, it's my 40th birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're in your 40s.
Yeah. And then I'll be 50 one day. And then he goes, well, once you get 80, you can start counting them individually again because that's you made it.
You're still here. You're not dead yet.
That's how I
that's a good
feel. Like,
one.
am I 37? Am I 38? Who knows? Who cares?
Who cares?
25 is our next big one because we can rent a car. It's a
Yes.
huge milestone.
Oh my God, y'all
I
can't
would.
rent car?
Yeah,
What do
no,
we do?
I can't rent a car yet. In Texas, you can in Michigan if you wanted to know.
Are you gonna do that for your birthday? Just rent a car.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rent a car
Just
to
go
my
to
house.
Hertz.
Yeah.
You can in other states though. Just not in Texas.
Anyway.
Not allowed to do anything in Texas. Freedom, baby.
You can.
That's freedom. That's what we call
Small
freedom.
government.
Jesus.
All right.